I remember watching this film when I was 16 in select theaters with my sister's ex-boyfriend at the time. I would have to say like this
Awkward.
this we won't dive into that.
Do you guys still keep up? Do you guys text message and be like,
No.
hey, remember that time when you were dating my sister? And
Awkward. Okay.
all right, everyone, we are back and we'll be taking a look at the film Spirited Away. I want to go into our first segment here called Honest Reactions, where I reveal interesting facts about the movie, and then we just talk about, of course, our honest reactions. First off, Spirited Away was created without a script. In fact, Miyazaki's films never have scripts.
I've read interviews and after I watched Spirited Away and looked more into him way like back in 2001, I believe this was released. He has a natural born talent. Like when I see that, a freaking person or a creative director that can create a story just by drawing
Yeah.
storyboards. Like who the freak does that? I mean,
Yeah.
granted, maybe there are others out there, but like with Miyazaki, man, it blew my mind. It
Yeah,
was
most people, if they work without a script, you're screwing yourself and you lose sight of the story itself, I feel like.
because I think you try to go in so many directions. I think there's so
Yeah.
many because there's so many possibilities. Like for him, I feel like once he draws a storyboard, he just knows exactly where it's
Yeah.
going.
I
Yeah,
feel like if he had a script, it would almost hinder him and take away his creativity. So it's weird that he works this way, but I mean, whatever works for him,
it's
he
free
needs to
flowing.
keep doing it. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
completely free flowing.
So apparently, also Miyazaki does everything. He wrote, directed, and drew the storyboards for the movie, essentially writing the movie with drawings. When you watch
Yeah.
the film, you're seeing one man's unified work and vision. The filmmaker is so influential and involved in the production that the New Yorker once called him the auteur of anime.
So I am so inspired and jealous that he has this ability. And so, yeah, I love it. I love him for that.
All right, last thing here, and this is a little bit freaky here. I don't know how I feel about this. Davy Chase voiced Chihiro, the female protagonist. She also voiced Lilo in Lilo and Stitch. That's fine. But she also played Samara in The Ring, the American version starring Naomi Watts.
She has
yeah.
talent.
It's weird that someone that looks so disturbingly freaky in a movie has a voice that's so innocently childlike.
Yeah.
But I think that makes it even scarier, to be honest. Will, do you remember when you first watched the film? What was your reaction to it? And is it as good as you remember it?
I remember watching this film when I was 16 in select theaters with my sister's ex-boyfriend at the time. I would have to say like
Awkward.
this we won't dive into that.
Do you guys still keep up? Do you guys text message and be like, hey, remember that time when you were dating my sister? And
Awkward. Okay. I would have to say this film played a significant part in my decision actually to pursue the arts, specifically visual effects for film and animation. Like this was before realizing my real passion was for editing. I never really got into Japanese animation until I watched Spirited Away. This film blew my mind with its beautiful colors, animation, the music, and of course the story, which even blew my mind even more once I realized how Miyazaki develops his stories. I instantly became a fan of his with this film. Like his creative vision as a storyteller is like completely unique. And it's evident here in what I would call his rendition of Alice in Wonderland and Wizard of Oz.
yeah, totally.
His creation of the world of Spirited Away is even more fascinating because the plot grew as he was drawing his storyboards. Allowing the story to grow organically is a talent, as I've said earlier, that I always felt was a gift. It's something that seems so hard to do when you don't have a script. I feel like he has that natural gift
Yeah.
that will resonate automatically with people,
Yeah,
and that's
and everyone trusts him because
Yes.
he's Miyazaki, right?
yes. And so I mean this film still holds a place in my heart as like one of my top 10, top 5 Japanese animated films of all time. Like rewatching it today still leaves me in awe and feeling inspired, and learning about Japanese Shinto folklore as one of the main themes of this film, and still is fascinating. Like, to give a brief definition of what Shinto means, it centers on polytheism, and it revolves around the Japanese word kami, which means spirits or gods that live and dwell in all things. And so obviously when you watch this film, it's about her being stuck in the spirit world of kamis, like everywhere. Like, you just see them coming around everywhere. So
It's not communists, but commies. Right.
I should have totally seen that coming from you.
There's like Stalin isn't like floating around or anything like that. No, okay, just double checking.
Just Mussolini. Just kidding.
He's a fascist, Will.
He is a fascist. That's right.
Yeah, get your history right.
Yes.
Just kidding. Yeah. And Ho Chi Minh, maybe he's floating around too. But anyway,
my gosh.
Okay. I'm not the biggest fan of traditional Japanese animation, and I'll tell you why.
Okay.
The dialogue and how the characters are drawn, even the themes behind the storytelling, it feels like it's basically catered more to an adult audience. There's a big solid line between like Ghibli films and Disney films in that Disney, the audience is very clearly, for children, right? Because of that, it took me a while to really get into the film, but ultimately what got me engrossed was all of the beautiful, rich characters. There were just so many different looks and personalities on the screen at one time. It was just creatively, it was as if in my mind, something just kind of got unlocked, and it kind of opened myself up to this world. Like every reservation just kind of dropped when all of these spirits started appearing. In this case, it's as if every spirit had their own purpose. Whether we were told that purpose or not, it felt as though Miyazaki had a purpose for them. And so, even though I may not have seen it, I trusted his storytelling to kind of guide me through the world. Even though he worked without a script, it's obvious that he innately understands storytelling. It's evident in the character change of the main character, Chihiro, from a fussy, immature girl to a strong and capable girl that saves her parents. She even lost her name and was called Sen and had to earn the right to have it back at the end. It's also clear that Miyazaki understands mythology, and that he also understands how we all connect to legends, fables, and fairy tales. Because that's what this movie basically is. It's a fable. It's a fairy tale. And it's the only way that Spirited Away is able to resonate so deeply with its viewers. It does so because of its connection to understanding how we connect to stories and legends ourselves. Watching the movie made me feel like a kid again. When we were younger, our imaginations were endless, and somehow we lost that as we got older. But I don't think Miyazaki ever lost it. I think his imagination is still endless. Seeing an adult that's so in tune with his own unhindered creativity somehow made me want to get back in touch with mine, which is why this movie really resonated with me. And the score was perfect. I mean, Beautiful, I've heard this score in so many different movies and films and trailers, and I didn't realize that it came from here. It was really, really perfect. It was so simple too, which I really loved. I loved the relationship between Haku and Chihiro. It's really unique, and it grows organically throughout the film in a very convincing way. I wasn't sure if it's like a boy-girl innocent crush, but I felt like that would just simplify too much. It's more than that. There's like a deep-seated respect and understanding of one another because of how their paths were actually intertwined, and the movie gets into that. Will, what were some of your favorite moments in the film?
I love the atmosphere of the abandoned amusement park. So when she enters the amusement park, the abandoned amusement park, like the vibrant colors of the buildings, the lighting, and the overall energy of the location was just interesting to see. Like, just it's like when you walk around, I don't know, Europe and somewhere like that was built in the 1200s or something like that. You just can't help but to look at the same piece of stone over and over again, because it's like, wow, this is old, or this is so fascinating, And there's other moments, such as like the amusement park comes to life with spirits, and it's like too late for Chihiro and her parents, who have turned into hogs, to escape, is amazing. Like, it transforms into a new world, the spirit world, where beautiful lights emerge, spirits ascend, and the atmosphere is just breathtaking. You're just like, what the heck? Like, literally Alice in Wonderland, but I would say better than Alice in Wonderland, the way it transforms. Like, another moment is when Chihiro meets with Haku to see her parents again, who are now pigs. Like, Haku tells her of how Yubaba steals everyone's names in order to control them. This is a pivotal moment to the growth of their relationship, I think, which is important to the film. Like, it's an endearing moment when Haku offers Chihiro, now called Sen, a rice ball and tells her that he has a difficult time remembering his name, but not hers.
So do you think it's weird that he is offering his rice balls to her even though they just met?
I think, well, they're more like balls. They're more like a triangle. I don't know what they call it specifically, but no, I think it's cute, right? So yeah, it's
In some circles, some might think it's cute.
I don't know.
In
I don't
others,
want
some
to
might think it's a
dwell.
little forward, but
I'm not gonna dwell
okay.
in this right now. But other ones like when Sen takes on her first customer, 'cause she has to find a job at the bathhouse and she can't be denied, so she has to push herself. So what she does, and she finally gets the job. She takes on her first customer. It's called a stink spirit. Or what they think is a stink spirit at the bathhouse. It turns out that it's not at all, but actually a rich and powerful river spirit. She frees him from all the pollution inside of him and proves herself to the others at the bathhouse. Like up to that point, they all condemn her because she was human and not capable and think they're lazy. But like she really like proved herself and gained acceptance and respect. And like lastly, but definitely not like the last of like there's so many great scenes and moments, but like the scene where Chihiro helps Haku remember his name, and they realize, I don't want to spoil it if you haven't seen it yet though, so but it's just they realize that they met a long time ago, but how they met a
Yeah.
long time ago I thought was very awesome. It was so cool. So
My favorite moment is that moment as well. Not to give anything away if you haven't seen the film, but basically they have a shared history and a shared past in which he had saved her life, even though they don't remember the details of it. And then later on, she's able to save his. And I think that just lends to the depth of their connection with one another. One of the things that I didn't really like was the limited backstory that the No Face character was given. He plays such an integral part of the story and of what happens to Chihiro, or also known as Sen. But basically, he does so much in the film and causes so much trouble and drama for all of the other characters that basically, at some point he literally kind of stops becoming a big deal, and we don't really know what makes him tick. We felt like because his character is such a large part of the plot that he needed certain rules to live by, or maybe some exposition that really wasn't there. I mean, we're told that when that spirit arrived to the bathhouse, that it made him sick and it kind of corrupted him, but then he eventually leaves and goes back to normal, and we don't really see what or why he became sick, and also why leaving made him normal again, and all of a sudden he's like a friend with Chihiro again. And there's just so many things here which aren't explained. And I think that given the fact that all of these characters have such a rich history and backstory in the film, even though it's not revealed, we are just in faith believing these things. I think maybe Miyazaki leaned on that a little bit too much, assuming we would just not ask the questions about No Face. But in this case, I do ask the questions.
he's actually there as a figure of innocence. So even though like there's not much to him, but when you see him in the bathhouse and his innocence is corrupted, that's where he started getting greedy, eating, doing all this crap. But once Chihiro gave him that like fermented, fermented dumpling, right?
Yeah.
That saved a couple of people, but also No Face when he put it in his mouth and he threw it all back up.
Yeah.
Like literally, it's just taking all that corruption back out. He's back to innocence, but then he leaves the bathhouse. So when he leaves the bathhouse and follows Chihiro, because for him, he doesn't like it's kind of like a wandering child. They don't know where they're going. But the moment that they leave to go to Zeniba, which is Yubaba's twin sister, who is the good witch, or the good witch. Yeah. He then is basically being restored in a safe place. He was really trying to visually explain that, which I thought was like,
it actually makes perfect sense. And in my opinion, kind of goes along with some of the more overarching themes in the film. Mm-hmm. Maybe we can switch over and shift and talk about kind of the themes that we saw, Will.
Yeah. The main theme is, for me, was that of an unlikely hero. Like Chihiro, an ordinary kid with no special abilities, that uncovers her natural abilities of courage, tenacity, and confidence. Like when Yubaba takes Chihiro's name and renames her to Sen, her nature as a child suddenly turns into that taking the adult responsibilities to save her parents, like taking on a new identity. It's a bit of a coming of age story, if you will. The other themes are basically like taking power and wealth for granted versus living an honest and righteous life. Like as shown by the twin sisters Yubaba and Zeniba, like Yubaba runs the bathhouse, but lives a lavish lifestyle and controls her workers with tyranny and power. Like, her magical abilities also showcase her laziness, because you don't really see her pick up after herself. She just waves her hand and everything's done for her, kind of thing. It's like she just does the least amount of work, but gets the most reward. When you look at Zeniba, her twin sister, she lives the opposite lifestyle. She lives in a quaint cottage out in the middle of the countryside. She believes in living simply and working honestly, as it teaches you the real significance of how life should be lived for yourself and for others around you, even though she has the same magical powers as her twin sister.
With great power comes great responsibility. Right, Will?
I didn't see Spider-Man in there,
Ben.
but I would tote. Yeah, or Uncle Ben. If Uncle Ben was there, she's married to Zeniba. Okay.
Yes.
In the spirit world.
In general, the things that I see agree with what you said, and also what we just talked about with No Face, is that the movie really speaks out against greed, gluttony, commercialism, and industrialization. Essentially, progress can be the enemy of innocence. So consider these things. The two river gods are deeply hindered and affected in the film, one of which is Haku, and the other which is the stink monster, which we realize is just a polluted river god. One is, of course, affected by pollution, like we said. The other is affected by commercialization. No Face giving gold out to whoever would take it. Whoever accepts it would be a target of his appetite. And also, Chihiro's parents turning into pigs when they lose their inhibitions and overeat at a food stand. And of course, they don't pay for the food or anything. They just start digging in. And I think that goes in line perfectly with what you said about No Face. The fact that he comes to the bathhouse, becomes corrupted, and isn't really able to stop himself from anything. And then he leaves and eventually is able to kind of go back to normal. So innocence being corrupted by all of these distractions and hindrances around us. And maybe even, I think the example you brought up with Zeniba and her twin sister Yubaba, that's very similar as well. Living simply, protecting the virtues that we're born with is I think the ideal that Miyazaki wants to protect here. So with that being said, time for our final reviews of the film.
I give it a 4.5 stars out of 5. It's bold, it's inspiring, it's a beautiful story created on the spot. Miyazaki is just a man of brilliance who has an amazing gift.
Yeah, wholly agree. I give it 4 stars. I love seeing auteurs play in their sandbox and create. And Miyazaki is able to do so unhindered, it seems like, and kind of do it however the way he wants to do it, which is, I think, the right way to treat someone like him. He's an amazingly visual filmmaker. And this is the perfect example when you let a gifted artist run wild with their imagination. Whatever flaws that were in the movie were easily covered over by the childlike wonder brought on by the visuals. Also, I highly recommend this movie if you've been high or have been drinking. Because, yeah, this movie is trippy. All right, that was it for our review of Spirited Away. I want to remind everyone to tune in next week where we'll be reviewing the film The Old Guard, which is available on Netflix now, and taking a look back at the film The Matrix. And we'll be doing that with our good friend Sydney Diangzen. And did I say that right? Sydney Diangzen. Sorry, Sydney. And of course, we'll also be back with our entertainment rundown. So we'll see you then.
Take care, everyone.